Audio. This podcast is called Obsessed. Joseph Scrimshaw and his guest get some secrets off their chest. You should listen. It's the best.
Hello and welcome to Obsessed with Joseph Scrimshaw on Feral Audio. I am your host. I am still Joseph Scrimshaw. There is nothing I can do about it, unless I traveled back in time, which would be fitting since the topic of this episode is indeed time travel. But before we launch into the twisting mists of temporal reality, I would like to apologize. To be clear, I'd almost always like to apologize because apologizing is great. It just makes me feel safe. But right now, I have an actual thing to apologize for. We recorded this episode live in Minnesota at TPT, which is the public television station. During the show, I accidentally called it a public radio station, which, look, sometimes you're on autopilot and you just say the word your brain thinks should come next, and when I say the word public, there's a 50-50 chance that the next word I'm going to say is gonna be radio or nudity, so really, we all got lucky. Regardless, I wanted to take a moment to put that correction out there because TPT, this particular public television station, means a lot to me. Without TPT, or KTCA as it used to be called, I would not personally give a damn about time travel. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and KTCA was the public television station that played Doctor Who. Doctor Who was very formative for me in many ways. If you're not familiar with the show, here is the basic setup. A character, called the Doctor, travels through space and time in a blue box, fighting monsters and running away from his feelings. Now, almost all the kids I knew liked and or tolerated Star Wars and superheroes, but this was different. Doctor Who was unacceptable. It was a British science fiction television show broadcast on public television. The special effects were not good. It was sometimes blatantly educational. The women's breasts were often fully covered, and the hero was a pacifist who actively prevented cool military guys from blowing shit up. Doctor Who was not just different, it was an attack on America. It was like I was urinating on the flag every second I was watching this show. No one at my school liked this show. They thought it was not cool and it was not badass enough. Well, let's talk about being badass. This is how Doctor Who was invented. Some people in England in 1963 said, "We want to create a science fiction show with a very small budget. Where shall it be set? Oh, I know. How about all of time and space? That is badass." Then they said, "We know we're making this show for science fiction fans who are famously pedantic. What should we call it? Oh, I know. What if the title of the show was almost the main character's name, but not quite? That should annoy the shit out of people for decades." And so it has. That is badass. Now, I loved that show, and I still love the show itself. But I also love the pure hubris of its existence. The hubris you needed to be a fan, and the hubris this badass public television station had to play it every Friday and Saturday night. So thanks, TPT. I apologize for saying radio. If I could, I would steal a Type 40 TARDIS from Gallifrey and travel back in time to correct myself, but it's probably a fixed point in time, just like when Adric died. Oh, God. I can't stop talking about Doctor Who. Anyway, enough about Doctor Who. Let's talk about me. If you enjoy Obsessed Podcasts, you can support us by becoming a backer on Patreon. If you're interested, full info is on patreon.com/Joseph Scrimshaw. Or you can support all the artists on the Feral Audio Podcast Collective by shopping at Amazon through our portal. Just go to feralaudio.com, click the Support Our Artist button, and go buy anything on Amazon. And some of the money will go to supporting Feral Audio. It does not matter what you buy on Amazon. This week, I'm recommending you buy yourself a copy of Earthshock on DVD. Earthshock is the episode of Doctor Who where Adric dies. It is very moving, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. But in a pacifist Doctor Who kind of fighting way. Finally, shows. I do shows. Every month, Hal Lublin and I do a Headcanon, our comedy game show about pop culture at Nerdmelt right here in beautiful, strange Los Angeles. For details on all my shows, go to josephscrimshaw.com/live-shows. But for now, sit back, relax, invite a crazy old inventor who probably has a questionably appropriate relationship with a teenager, as many time travelers do, over for a drink, and enjoy this live episode all about time travel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming here to Obsessed with me, Joseph Scrimshaw. For our listening audience, we are recording this live in Lowertown, St. Paul as a part of the North Star Science Film Festival. We are actually recording at TPT, which is the local public radio station. It is Saturday afternoon, so if this gets very sleepy, a little Lake Wobegon episode of Obsessed. There's a reason for that. But as listeners to Obsessed know, sometimes on this podcast there's swearing, and I'm going to take great delight in fulfilling my childhood dream of swearing in the public television station. Our episode today is about fucking time travel. Something I've wanted to talk about for a long time, so we're going to get right into it. I'm going to introduce my guest. He's a writer, actor, a comedian, and does the most creative swearing that I've ever heard. Sam Landman.
Aw, thanks for that last one.
Absolutely. He's an actual scientist and advisor to big Hollywood movies, and he looks better holding an oldie-time pipe than even Bing Crosby. Dr. Jim Kakalios.
Thank you. Thank you. I got your exclusion principle right here.
And finally, she's a writer, a comedian, an appreciator of dogs, and a star of Mystery Science Theater 3000, Mary Jo Pehl.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Is that fair? Are you an appreciator of dogs?
I'm a dog lover. No, not just appreciator.
TMI.
Don't get me started.
I knew I wanted a flavorful thing for your introduction, so I thought, I'll check Mary Jo's social media. And like, dogs.
I know. I never anticipated I'd turn into weird dog lady, but guess what?
You're not weird dog lady, just dog lady.
Just dog lady.
Just dog lady. You don't have to add the weird. So we're going to get right into the time travel. I wanted to start, Jim, with just a little bit of background on how we're doing in terms of actual science of time travel. Are we close?
Well, as we're actually recording this in 1875, I'd say mission accomplished. No. There's actually several ways that are completely consistent with the known laws of physics to achieve time travel now. There are ways that would require, like, say, one miracle,
Okay.
one amazing breakthrough.
So we're just one miracle away?
For other methods, that's right.
Okay.
There's actually easy ways to go leap forward into the future. The problem is that it would be very expensive in the sense of having to travel very close to the speed of light.
Okay.
And so that would be a way that if you travel very close to the speed of light for a couple of days, when you stop the trip, you'd be 1,000 years in the future. You would not be able to come back.
Okay.
If you went in reverse for several days, it wouldn't go backwards. So you would be stuck there, but you would be able to see the smoking crater that our next president might have left the country.
So the closest we are to time travel is in a very expensive trip to a post-apocalyptic horizon.
That's right. That's right. Sign now. Seats are limited.
You're a great salesman for this. So we want to get a little bit into sort of the obsession with time travel, talking a little bit about the topic and you guys' personal relationship to it. Starting with you, Sam, do you remember when you became aware of time travel or like the first show you saw about it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like a lot of people of my generation, Back to the Future, those films.
Yeah.
Although a friend of mine just recently said, that part at the end where Doc Brown says there's something wrong with your kids, he could have just told him the whole thing and we never would have had a Back to the Future 2 or 3. He could have just said, okay, his name is Griff. And that whole last 30 minutes could have been just him explaining it.
Yeah.
And they never would have had to go screw up everything in the future. But yeah, Back to the Future, definitely. That was the definite flashpoint for me.
Okay. And did it make you think I want to do that? Or was it more like I just want to absorb stories about this?
And I'm glad we have a physicist in the room because now I can ask this question.
Wait,
or
what?
Not. That's you, Jim. I guess it made me question the concept of time travel in terms of how feasible it was if we could do it, A. But B, it made me think about, well, we can go backwards. So the future's already happened? Is that what I'm thinking? So if we're going forward, we're going into a future that is technically already there. So it gave me that fourth dimensional concept of like, oh my God, like I thought you could only go backwards as a kid,
Yeah.
Or 20-year-old, or however old I was when I was questioning this.
However high you were when you were questioning.
So I'm like, I always thought of traveling in time going backwards, never really forwards a lot.
Oh,
and then
cool.
this movie really cemented it in my head that, that makes sense. But in terms of, physics, what does that mean?
Cool. How about you, Dr. Jim? What was your first time travel moment?
Actually, it was an Irwin Allen TV show, The Time Tunnel.
Oh, cool.
Which I saw when it was first aired, because I'm really old, which is why time travel is very personal to me. And I just really dug the show. What is now a cliche of the time portal being this black and white spiral was first, introduced on that show, and it introduced the concept of like going through time, visiting stock footage from other movies, and having a minimal interactions that all look like the countryside of Southern California, regardless of where you were. And it was actually kind of interesting. I didn't really pick up on all this. They always were constantly trying to change the history when they got bopped back to... So the premise of the show is that they built this large underground facility to experimentally, attempt time travel. The show aired originally in 1966. It took place all in the future, all the way in 1968. So it was like 2 years away from this technology, and two scientists get stuck back in time, go into the tunnel, and they get stuck. And they can only be like yoinked, like in Quantum Leap, from one time to another.
That's a scientific term, right?
Yeah, yoinked. Yes, actually. And they were constantly trying to change history. The first episode, they find themselves on the Titanic, and it's like, try to avoid the icebergs. And they're trying to, they're at Pearl Harbor before the Japanese bombing. It's like, quick, we have to alert people. There's like no one there had read any Ray Bradbury at all.
So there's no fear of changing the timeline. They're just
let's avert
bad things.
But an interesting theory about time travel was that they were inevitably unable to do so. And so that's also cemented the idea of that the past was kind of fixed.
Okay.
That you could come back, and even armed with knowledge that the Titanic is going to hit this iceberg, you couldn't prevent it from happening.
Right.
And so that was kind of interesting. But then that was also when, years later, when I read the Sound of Thunder and the idea of like stepping on a butterfly could dramatically alter history.
Yeah.
It was like, oh wow, there's a completely different theory, a different, vision of what time travel would be like.
But still has that element of you can't mess with this easily without screwing everything up.
Well, you can either, if you mess with it, you'll screw things up, or you could try as hard as you like.
And it's not going to have any impact.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about you, Mary Jo? What was your first exposure to time travel?
I think first it's important that I admit straight away that I'm the dumbest person on this panel because all this is so mind-boggling to me. I grew up watching movies on network TV, the old movies that they would play at midnight when I was babysitting and raiding the fridge. And... then disavowing any knowledge of it when the people came home. But yeah, so it's in your consciousness. But I think my first really examining that idea was on Mystery Science Theater when they did the movie Time Travelers.
Okay.
Travelers. And I didn't write on that show, but I did watch that show. And I have to be honest, I'm really a lightweight. Like, those concepts are so mind-boggling to me. I get really anxious about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I start worrying about not the logistics of the physics, but I get worried, like, I can barely manage this time and space. So how will I manage if I go back or go forward? What will I wear? What should I bring? I have low blood sugar. Like, do I have to bring something? So I do, and I know it sounds funny, but I do get wrapped up in those kinds of particulars.
That makes a lot of sense to me because I find myself getting increasingly neurotic about being faced with like decisions of just like, even when they're small, it's just sort of like the act of making a decision gets to be stressful of like what I'm going to wear. So then like, and now I'm going to go to the Titanic and make all those choices of like,
Right, and you don't want me on your team if we're going to the Titanic to try and change something, because I can always see both sides. Like, well,
you can see the iceberg's perspective.
Are we sure it's an iceberg? Are we getting a little over alarmed?
Maybe it's a baby
this?
alien like on Star Trek. Right?
That's not a car. There's two motorcycles coming right at me. Watch me steer the ship right between them.
I am. I'm always second guessing myself like that.
Well, let me ask a time travel question that is a little less stressful. Would you guys be interested in a time travel device that just let you jump back a few seconds so you could re-examine choices? Would that be fun or would that be stressful?
An Omega-13.
Yeah.
That's a very
Yes,
nerdy
an
reference.
Omega-13. What does that mean? You got to tell me and Mary Jo what that means.
Yeah.
Well, that from Galaxy Quest.
Oh my God!
right,
that's
right.
Right.
Okay, yes, okay, got it.
God,
Sorry.
I am too nerdy for this room.
Yeah, I saw the look you shot me.
So yeah, I can't remember the exact use of the Omega-13 in that.
Well, it enabled you. It basically flipped you back like 13 seconds.
Okay.
And the idea was like you couldn't do anything, and Tim Allen says, well, it's long enough to reverse one bad decision.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's
that's right.
kind of like what you're saying, but you'd have to kind of use it if you only went back 13 seconds, you'd have to use it within a very narrow window.
Yeah. So
You
like you
couldn't,
have to
like,
decide right away.
Yes.
And it wouldn't be perpetual. You wouldn't keep going like you wouldn't keep doing it.
No,
No.
I mean, you have to. It takes a
would
lot
be
of
selective.
energy to
It would be-
recharge it. I mean, this is not like fantasy here. I mean,
Okay, so like if you could only do it.
He's a
He
physicist,
seems so
Mary Jo.
Come
disgusted
on.
with me that
can
I'm
you
so
please be-
literal about
Can you give me
these
some-
things.
if you're not going to treat this seriously, then
I just want to understand.
Well, Jim, wait a second. It is theoretical physics, right? I mean,
which
I
is
like-
not real physics.
Right. I like to think that I do theoretical comedy too. Like it could possibly be funny, but it probably isn't.
If
this
we
were
have to do an
humor.
experiment to check.
Right.
It would
you
take
know,
a lot of energy to make this funny. I don't know if I can put it
Okay,
out.
and I'll just say this now, and maybe we swiped this from Galaxy Quest. I don't know, but we did a 48-hour film called 5 Seconds
Okay.
about a guy going on a blind date, and he can go back 5 seconds, and blah blah blah. And she's like, the date, we haven't gotten our food yet, and let's don't get ahead of ourselves. He's like, I can tell you in 5 seconds we're gonna be having sex in the bathroom, and he's like, and she's like, yeah, that's. Trust me, that's really not going to happen. Oh, yeah, it is. No, it's not. And then they have sex in the bathroom. She's like, you can't travel back in time at all, can you? And he's like, no. That's the spoiler. You don't have to see the film now. It's only 7 minutes. Anyway, the point is, like, we had this idea of, like, it'd be actually more interesting to have that 5-second jump and just go back and be able to kind of know, I'm going to miss this pothole. Or I
Right.
won't make this decision.
Or I won't see this dumb thing in front of somebody, I think is the one that jumps to my mind of using it
Yeah.
socially.
Absolutely,
right,
absolutely,
totally,
sure.
all the damn time for me.
I mean, but that's the question is like, if you avoid the iceberg, does that mean that the Titanic, because it's an inevitable sequence of events in the timeline, does that mean that the Titanic makes it safely, or does something else happen because it was meant to happen?
Right. So it's like that total butterfly effect of like,
Right.
Right.
Oh, I forgot to lock the bathroom door, and then someone saw me urinating, but I can jump back 5 seconds, lock the bathroom door, and then America falls apart.
Right.
Because
Right.
that guy didn't see me
Or
urinating.
or people always see me urinating because I'm always doing that.
I don't think that has anything to do with time
I
travel.
jumped
I think
ship.
that's...
I was a completely different tangent.
So,
I'm admitting things.
Mary
now.
Jo, for you, would that be stressful to have that choice to know, like, I can just touch this thing on my belt and I can jump back a couple seconds and make a different decision?
It might be kind of freeing, actually, if you could correct course, if you will.
Yeah.
I find everything stressful, so I'm sure I could find that angle to it. I'm sure it would eventually. But Sam brought up something really interesting when he said that it would be an eventuality for the Titanic.
Right.
So then that makes you question what is the big hand, or if there is one, about these events. Like, who's determining? Who
Right.
or what is determining it? And I'm not advocating for a higher power. I'm just curious, like, then how are these certain courses engineered? Am I making any sense? Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yes.
Like, that's where I start getting a headache. just
Right, to
being
think about,
boggled by that.
is there any sort of sentience that's just like, nope, the Titanic has got to crash, the iceberg is right, the iceberg needs to win this fight. And I'm totally committed to that. Kind of along those lines, I feel like we always talk about and think about time travel stories in terms of those butterfly effect and in terms of like keeping the fixed points of time or not messing it up. This is, to me, a fun question because it's a little bit more freeing. If your goal was to utterly fuck up the timeline and you guys had a time machine, what would you take from the present into the past if you were just trying to mess up the timeline? How would you go about that?
Even without you'd like to bring a power supply for it, and even though you wouldn't have Wi-Fi, if you brought like an iPad or something like that and showed this little, tablet, and showing the movies or the camera and things like that 1,000 years ago, that would definitely be, the sorcery. You would definitely, that would be sorcery level that is unquestionable.
Right.
You'd had a magic mirror.
You have a magic mirror.
Yeah.
What show or movie would you bring on your iPad to just drive people mad?
Well, facts of life. Right?
It's a little morality tale too. Like
Yeah.
you take the good, you
No,
take the
an
bad.
actual.
Take
This
them
was
both
like a hygiene video that I saw in school. It was called "The Facts of Life," and so because up till then they were thinking you had to swim up the Columbia River or something.
Oh, I was
And
going
so-
the whole Tootie route.
Yeah, me
Me
too.
too. Like, wow.
Oh, wow. Well,
Now
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see. Oh,
Right.
I don't know if that would really warp civilization, but Blair would do a number on some of those people.
That would be great if you brought back like an instructional video about sex and like people were like, "We know."
but this is
that.
better.
We know.
We know how to do
I
this.
just think it would be great to take something backwards in time, like, I don't know, 100, 200 years, and show them The Room and be like, this is how far we've evolved in entertainment.
Well,
Just
hi,
to
Mark.
screw them up. Oh, hi, Mark. Yeah. Just to kind of screw them up and go, oh, that's the bar we have to hit. So maybe
Right.
entertainment would get even better going forward.
Yeah.
Right, we have to
Wow.
direct
Wow.
ourselves
Just-
towards the goal
Wow.
of the
Well,
room.
you would advance the technology, the development of the football.
Yeah.
Like
Football.
hundreds of years.
The game of football would evolve, so it's just
Dude,
people
just
throwing it at each
throw
other.
in an alley in tuxedos. That's the way the game is played.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would mess up history
It
pretty
would
bad.
screw so much up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Mary Jo?
Can you say the question again?
If you wanted to mess up the timeline, how would you do that?
You know what? I'm completely stumped on that. I have to go lay down.
Okay.
So, can we circle back? Because
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Well,
that's
Let
huge.
me ask you a smaller question then.
Thank you, Joe.
Anytime. If you were just taking back a piece of media to say like the Middle Ages, and like what TV show or movie would you bring? Since we've already heard about The Facts of Life and The Room, what would you bring, just in terms of a TV show or a movie?
I would bring. You know what I would bring? I would bring the song "We Built This City." Because I think I need to. Because I really like that song, and I know it's not cool to admit that.
Okay.
So I would want some. I would feel like those people would have a better. I would accept their opinion of my opinion better. Like if they said, "Ooh, PU," then
Right.
I'd come back and say, "I was wrong, you guys."
But Mary Jo, you're denying them Jefferson Starship and Jefferson Airplane if you do that. You're just giving them Starship.
See, that's what I mean. It gets so mind-boggling.
Yeah.
All the
Actually,
ramifications.
an interesting point would be if you brought back Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire." They'd say, "What are all these nonsense words? Like none of the names and
Oh,
references
yeah.
Right.
make any
Historical-
sense."
Right.
Yeah.
It would be like Mersey Dotes and Mersey Dotes.
What the hell?
What is this song about?
Yeah.
What?
I love the idea of taking it back just to get an aesthetic appraisal from
Yeah.
people from the Middle Ages of like, is it okay to like this song?
Am I
'Cause
crazy or is this a good
I'm
song?
very codependent that way, so why not be codependent with like a different generation? So.
Yeah, but then we built this city on rock and roll. They'd be like, that would instruct them of like, this is how we build cities, I guess.
Yes, yes.
It would really
This is
screw them
how we
up.
build cities.
This is a weird question. I'm going to ask it just because it's what's on my mind. My wife and I have been watching the television show Outlander, which has, if you're not familiar with it, just a very specific time travel device it's a very Celtic thing of touching these magic rocks. Woman goes back in time to Scotland and falls in love with a Highlander.
Yes, my wife wanted to watch that because of the costumes. Go ahead. She had no interest in the time travel. She just thought the costumes were beautiful.
The costumes are great, and it's a fun time travel story because it's so limited and specific.
Right.
It's not about jumping around, and there's no concern with affecting the timeline from the woman who traveled back. She's just like, hey, everybody in Scotland, grow potatoes because there's going to be a famine. And no, she doesn't get it. Never crosses her mind, and it's so.
Please say that happened. Does that actually happen? Please?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's a very touching moment. Where she's like, please remember potatoes.
Starches.
The starches.
Bank on starches.
Don't fight the British and grow potatoes, and you might be okay. But I think the sort of the story of it is that she goes back in time and she truly falls in love with someone in the past. So if you guys were going to go to the past in an effort to fall in love, I know you're all coupled, but if you wanted to go back and fall in love with someone in a different time, where would you go? Like geographically or time wise? There's such romance about the Scottish Highlander. Like everybody wants to go back and fall in love with the Scottish Highlander.
Oh, I have a great answer for that.
Awesome.
Hitler's bunker, man. Eva Braun. I mean, that gal was nasty.
Or you go to, what do you got to lose?
Come on, you gonna go with me or this guy? He's losing
Okay,
a
yeah.
war.
Yeah. I can take you away from all of this.
To hell with these bunkers. Let's go up,
How do you feel about comedy theater?
theoretical comedy, Eva Braun?
How about you, Dr. Jim? Is there any historical
That
moment
was
where you
not
feel
my
like there
answer.
are
Anyway, I'm gonna let it go.
vulnerable women like Eva Braun?
I really can't think of any time more romantic than the age of the dinosaurs.
Oh.
So, now this is the 6-year-old Jim talking.
Would you want to fall in love with a dinosaur?
Again?
Who are you to judge, Joseph
I know,
Scrimshaw?
really.
Come on.
I'm not judging.
Open mind.
I'm not judging. What kind of dinosaur?
Soft. and lovely. I really, all seriousness aside, I really can't think
Yeah.
of anything like that. It would be interesting to maybe go forward in time
Yeah.
and see, just in my age, the time travel that has gone on in my lifespan in terms of changes of attitudes about love.
Yeah.
And has just been so dramatic. In the past few years, it's been so dramatic that it would be just really intriguing to see where things are going. Are pendulums going to swing back? Are they going to go
Right.
further? Is this a ratchet that doesn't go backwards? Do things reverse? It would be very interesting.
So
as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, so you would go to the future, maybe looking for love, but more importantly...
Maybe all the men had been wiped out, and so I like those odds.
But yeah, that's a cool idea to actually go to the future, not necessarily for technology, but for
For
social
for
to see
social
where we
things.
are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. I think one of the interesting things about time travel stories is obviously we know the past and then the future. There's never a good interpretation of the future.
No.
So I'm curious if they're serious or if they're weird. What predictions do you guys have for the future? If you went 100 years in the future, do you have predictions of what you would want to see, what you think you would see?
For me, I always like from a music trend perspective.
Okay.
How things are going to go that direction. Like now there's a lot of stuff that's happening that's it goes for sort of a retro sound, or they're trying to go with instruments that kind of have that. I mean, one really basic example is like Unknown Mortal Orchestra. This started as sort of a basement thing, but it has this almost retro sound to it, at least the first few albums did. And there are so many, there's a band like that, and then there's hundreds of bands that kind of reproduce that sound.
Okay.
So you have a trend in that kind of stuff. Dubstep was a big thing for a big thing. I guess Skrillex is still going somehow. But I mean, that spawned a lot of how things sounded. So those trends in music, even though they might be temporary, they can spawn other sort of subgenres.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see where music kind of goes, especially in terms of distribution, in terms of how we consume it.
Okay.
How we play it back. That kind of stuff is always really interesting to me.
See, that seems like a really practical guess about the future, because
Right.
I think people tend to guess towards the sort of the wild and the technological, and not this thing like, well, music's always been a part of our culture ever since Mary Jo Pehl we put the city in rock and roll to the Middle Ages.
Damn straight. You're welcome, Middle Ages.
So that's something that's going to be there no matter what. So it's just a question of what's it going to look like, because it is for sure going to be there instead
Yeah.
of making up a brand new thing that we don't have. For the
Or does it
future.
become something that's a lot different because of the way we ingest it?
Yeah.
Does it become something that's more analog, that becomes more retro, that we have to actually, we keep coming back to turntables and vinyl, and there's always an appreciation for technology that people who weren't born when that technology was new can appreciate, even though, they weren't there when it was new.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about that for me. Anyway.
Cool. How about you, Dr. Jim? What do you think of the future?
Well, I especially since you said roughly like a 100-year time span, which is something that one can think about. Because if you compare, like, say, what life was like 1,000 years ago and now today, it's really hard to extrapolate the next 1,000. One of the things that occurred to me while I was just sitting here is because of the ubiquity of the internet and all the information that's available, and that's just going to become, I don't see that going back.
No.
What I think might happen is that ideas about what is a smart person might change.
Oh.
Because it used to be that you were smart because you knew a lot of things.
Right.
But now you might be smart just because you can see a connection between things that the computer can't find, or things like that.
Right.
Or maybe smartness becomes all issues of creativity, or the things that the computer can't provide. So it would be like, the only smartness that we value is artistic smarts.
Yeah.
Or things of that nature. I don't know, but I mean, just something that just occurred to me.
I think that's really cool, because that actually comes up on this podcast. Is sometimes people, since I'm asking them to talk about something they like a lot, sometimes they feel like, well, I need to be super knowledgeable about it, and I never really care about that. I care about like the personal relationship and your thoughts. And sometimes I'm interviewing people and they're like, oh, I can't remember the name of that one song, I should look it up. And like, the people listening can look it up just as fast as you. You don't need to look it up on the podcast, because it's about your relationship to it, not your knowledge. Because exactly like you're saying, like, we all have that knowledge, and if we don't have it, we can have it 2 seconds from now.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, that's really cool that the future would be continue to be about being more individual, and what does the individual have to offer instead of this
you
collection
can
of
imagine,
knowledge.
like, that in order to do some thinking, people go into isolation booths or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Mary Jo? Do you have a picture of the future in your mind?
No. No, but one specific area that I do contemplate as you pose your question is I have always been really interested in marital partnership, or not even with the word marriage, but how people partner.
Yeah.
How they seek out social connections and decide to make a life or a period of time with one person. Sometimes it's two. I really think that is evolving, and I think those things have always been there, like polyamory, of course, but I think we're just more open to it now. I think it's a really exciting time where we are open to those things, and I am really curious about what that's going to look like. And I don't want to get gross about it, but the joke was the kind of joke, but the weird thinking about letting gays marry was that a lot of people were like, well, what's next? You get to marry your dog? And of course they have no legal standing, so you can't marry him. But what if we did decide to, what if that was acceptable? Like, it didn't look like, oh, do I sound like completely off my nut? Yeah. I'm just curious about what it's going to look like now that we're so much more open and becoming more and more open to how people form intimate relationships. And I'm not trying to be gross. I'm just challenging the idea of that. Am I making any sense, Joe?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think if you like remove sort of like baggage about sexuality from it, like we are already moving in that direction with animals, where the idea of like their companions or therapy animals, or like I feel like Carrie Fisher is doing like great work by everywhere she goes, she has Gary, her companion therapy dog, and
Yes.
Gary now has his own Twitter and his own Instagram, and like he is like there are petitions to get him in the next Star Wars movie, and like
Bless people's heart. Oh,
there's
my
like an
God.
element of humor to it, but this sort of great humanity and truth to it of saying like, well, this taking sexuality out of it, there is a partnership here, and this is a living being that was with me all the time, and it is a kind of partnership.
Right, and I think we're I think we're a little weird about marriage, and I think divorce still has a stigma to a degree. When I feel like we're not programmed that way, and who's to say a divorced couple didn't have a successful marriage
Yeah.
that then changed?
Yeah.
So all those are sort of those ideas are peppering my thoughts about what that's going to look like in 100 years. I'm not I hate to advocate for someone having 10 wives, because I think that is a disservice to women. But if they choose to participate,
Yeah.
I guess, but
Simultaneously.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you were talking about divorce, and so I thought
No, I
maybe
know,
it was
I'm all over the map.
sequentially.
I'm all over the map, but no, right.
Well, it's
yeah.
autumn, time to get a divorce.
Yeah. Jim's just planning his next 10 years, I think.
Is it the pumpkin spice divorce?
Next. So,
No, I think that's a great idea. Just the idea that our social ideas about what a partnership is and what love is
thank
would
you for
develop.
distilling it. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about TV shows, because I feel like a lot of our time travel thoughts are either about like the actual science, or so much is about TV shows. So I want to figure out what your TV shows would look like if you had your own TV shows about time travel. So, Sam, we'll start with you.
Why would you start with me? Oh, my God.
It's okay. I'm going to be here with you all the way.
Okay.
Just like Gary the dog with Carrie Fisher. I'm here for you.
You're my helper host.
So I want to start with the time travel device. On your
Yes.
TV show starring Sam Landman, you travel through time somehow. So what does your device look like? Do you want a car? Do you want it to be like a TARDIS in Doctor Who?
I'm going to go with one of the other questions we had, and kind of my focus being music. I think it would be a small turntable or mini disc or something, and I'd have to scratch, and then I could jump forward or backward in time,
So you'd be like DJ Time Traveler. You'd be like, all right, kids.
because I always know what
That's
time it
excellent.
is. Yeah, I've got
You got to pitch that show. That's excellent.
It's like Flava Flav. I've got a little clock around my chest. But yeah, that's how I get forward and backward in time, and I can go back in time and show Neutral Milk Hotel more chords for their songs, because all the songs I could hold Father John Misty and say it's going to be okay. Your songs don't have to be that sad, or I'd solve music or rock mysteries.
Yeah.
I would solve some sort of rock. I could go back in time and go, Jefferson Airplane, don't change to Jefferson Starship, because eventually you're going to go forward in time as Starship, and you're going to show a civilization where that is the music that you need to learn to build your cities with.
Hey, I can hear you, Sam.
Oh, shit.
I'm a part of this podcast.
I'm sorry.
I've been sitting here the whole time. I know when I'm being mocked.
Oh,
okay.
I thought you left. I'm sorry, Mary Jo. No, but I really like that idea of this being, sort of the time-traveling rock and roll detective.
Yeah, DJ Time Travel could actually be sold to MTV.
Oh, sure.
For sure.
If I was about 20 years younger, that would really work.
No, DJ Time Travel's got to be older. He'd be like, kids, let me tell you how it was.
No, that I seriously, we have to pitch
Yes,
that.
everyone in this room. All right, Dr. Jim, how about you? Do you have thoughts on it? I can ask you leading questions if you want, or you can just go for it.
No, well, in terms of what the device would look like, I am stuck by Dr. Doom's time platform.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's the one that I can imagine, because I just like the idea of you're standing on this board, and it starts to rise up past you, and when you get mid-drift, half your body is in one time period, and the top is in the other as it rises above like an elevator
Mind blown.
past you and shifting you into a different time. And that idea just kind of stuck with me always.
Yeah. So,
About that.
so where would you go? Where would you send the lower half of your body first?
Back to the past for sure.
Okay.
Where would I go first? That's a great question. There was a comic book that only lasted a few issues that was a spin-off on a time-traveling villain in DC Comics, Kronos. And one of the things he was doing was hanging out in Germany, like in the early 60s, listening to this band that was just trying out. Like,
Okay.
John Lennon said, "You're always here." And like the club is practically empty. And he goes, "I like you guys, and I wanted to get in before the crush."
So would you, in your TV show, would you be a supervillain who traveled around seeing people before they became...
there was a separate comic book series by Rachel Pollack that was, the premise was that people had to go around in the past and create paradoxes.
Oh,
and
nice.
That like time, it was like somehow strengthening it by putting in specific defect points.
Okay.
So yeah, you could imagine being... I think it was just the notion of being able to experience and to actually see what life is like at the street level and at higher up, and doing all that. It's basically a form of immortality,
Okay.
and so that appeals.
So your TV show would probably be like mostly educational, because it would just be Mr. Paradox traveling around, seeing things as they're happening and experiencing
and it's like
them.
Messing things up or going to Edison's lab and going, "Oops," and that's it for the electric light. Remember, you said you had 10,000 successes. Now you've got more successes.
So you would do things for Edison.
Yes. Well, right. Yeah. I'd be like the bumbling assistant. or
Okay.
something.
Nice.
And then, cashing the checks from Tesla.
And your catchphrase would be "Oops." That's everything that you did. Would you, oops.
Right, yeah, right.
Okay, that's the title of the show. Oops, starring Dr. Jim Kakalios.
Yeah, right. All
All right, Mary Jo, how about you? Let's talk about your time-traveling TV show.
I think the means would be pretty pedestrian.
Okay.
Like maybe just walking into my mudroom, or the garage. I was going to say, what's that thing that you put a car in? See, I can
get the internet. Yes.
And I think for me it would be I fantasize about living other lives in terms of eras.
Okay.
Like I'm really fascinated by the era around the Algonquin Round Table.
Oh, yeah.
The late 40s, early 50s in New York, the Beatnik area, and fancying myself being a little more hip than I am or ever was.
Okay.
Or being able to tap into a movement that I wasn't frightened by, because all movements frighten me. So my show would be about maybe I have two shows, because one's going to be a spin-off show. But it would be that, and experiencing that, having lived life in this era. And also, I would really like to go back and visit people who I have loved, who have passed, and now I have questions for them.
Okay.
Because I've grown and aged, and you look back on pieces of your life, and you think, oh, man, I was a real dick during that period, and you were so nice to me. Why were you nice to me? Or what did you think I was a total jerk?
Yeah.
Or like asking my mom questions, like, oh, I forgot to ask you, what all those things.
Yeah.
That would be important to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Not to change it, but to ask
Oh,
the
to
questions I
understand
have
it.
now. To
Okay.
understand.
nice.
Yes.
So what, do you have a title for the TV show?
No.
So just Mary's
Damn it,
mudroom?
Joseph. Why did you prep me with these questions? No. The garage. I don't know. Mary Jo's garage. I go fiddle with something, and then next thing you know, doodle doodle doodle. There's that sound effect.
Yeah.
Doodle doodle doodle.
Oh, I like that. It's Mary Jo's garage. You go there, doodle 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 doo. That's the theme song.
Honey, I'm just stepping out to the garage. Doodle doodle doodle.
And I like it that the garage just takes you to places where you have questions about your life. Like, why does it keep taking me to places where I was kind of a jerk? That seems...
What am I
It's
supposed to
called the
understand
past, yes.
about myself?
Hi, this is Obsessed co-producer Sarah Meyer, and I'm in my car right now, driving around LA looking for a place to pull over so I can talk to people on the street about this week's topic. Do you think time travel is possible?
Yeah.
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically.
Yes.
Of course it is. No, I'm just joking.
No, I don't think it's possible at all. No, I think it's imaginary and no.
What about if you could go 100 years into the future? What do you think it would be like?
I think it would be great. I mean, it's probably going to be more technological. You know what I mean? Cars be flying. You know what I mean? It looks like fun. I'm not going to be here for 100 years from now, but
You might.
We're not going to be.
People are living longer and longer.
I know, but 100 years from now, I think that most people walking this earth right now, with maybe 1% going to be here. That's just being realistic.
What's your favorite time travel story?
Like the way time travel works, like in movies and things like that, every time it shows up, I'm always just kind of upset. Like the third Harry Potter film I thought was the best one, and then they just were like, and now time travel, and I was like, oh, the whole thing is broken now. Like, just go back in time and like punch Voldemort as a baby or whatever.
If it was possible and you could go back in time and hug any historical figure, who would you pick?
Well, we'll start with Harriet Tubman.
Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King. Definitely. Give him a big hug and tell him thank you.
Maybe Shakespeare, because there are a lot of people that don't know if maybe he was a woman, I'm not sure. So I would like to know that maybe he was a woman, and if she were, so I would like to hug her a lot.
Who would I hug? Helen of Troy.
Audrey Hepburn. I'll go hug Audrey Hepburn.
Seriously, I think maybe me.
We're going to move on to our How Obsessed Are You questions. These are questions that I ask everybody. You don't have to be obsessed. I ask them across all the podcasts to just get a sense of the different levels of obsession. Sam, we'll start with you and go down the line. Do you think about time travel every day?
I do.
Awesome.
Yes.
How about you, Dr. Jim? Do you think about time travel every day?
No.
Okay. Because it's not enough of a part of your work, right?
No.
Okay.
That's right.
Cool. How about you, Mary Jo?
No.
Okay. Excellent. Have you ever had a dream, Sam, about time travel?
Yes.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, it had to do with talking to my dad.
Oh, okay.
And my dad died when I was like 3 months old.
Oh,
So
wow.
it had to do with like going back and me just being a complete stranger who he didn't know, who kind of favored him but didn't look exactly like him, and just talking to him. And I got answers that just, of course, in dream sense made no sense.
Yeah.
But I've actually had that dream a few times, just where I'm meeting him casually.
Oh,
but I've
cool.
never really met him. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. How about you, Dr. Jim?
Well, I'm going to change my answer. I want Sam's answer. That was really good.
Yeah, you want to have met Sam's father?
I hear he's a nice guy.
I have all these questions. I dream about time travel. I rarely remember any of my dreams.
Okay.
I think that there are some where I've gone back and interacted, the standard high school type things, but nothing that I can remember. Nothing quite as detailed.
Okay. Mary Jo, are you a dreamer? Do you dream? Do you remember your dreams?
I do dream. I occasionally remember them. I don't recall that I've ever had a time travel dream.
Okay, cool. Sam, would you have a time travel themed birthday party?
Oh my God.
It's a yes or no question.
I know. It's such a simple question. I don't think so.
Yeah. Is it because it doesn't mean that much to you, or?
I think it would be disappointing because I would expect like, hey, me from the past shows up and then does a thing.
Yeah, it is kind of a dick party to invite your friends to a time travel party and just like, I'm wearing an oldie time hat. It's time travel. It's not very exciting.
Yeah, I'm like,
no, this is my regular clothes.
What are you talking about?
See, I'm wearing a Free the Juice shirt that I always used to wear. Oh, probably inappropriate. Okay.
How about you, Dr. Jim? Would you have a time travel themed birthday party?
It never occurred to me before, but now I really want one.
Do you want any particular time period?
No, what it would be to actually let people like treat it as like a Halloween costume party.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Let them pick what era they want to come from the future or the, I mean, there's always going to be jerks that say, yeah, I'm from yesterday.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, I know, because you were wearing the same shirt.
I'm your lazy, dirty friend. Yeah.
From the past.
From the past. And from the future, too. How about you, Mary Jo? Would you
never have a party. No, sir.
Would you just murder a friend who tried to throw a surprise birthday party for you? Like you wouldn't want a surprise party. A surprise time travel party?
I have thrown my own surprise parties.
For yourself?
And it was a huge success. Yes, because I was so ego-driven, and I thought everyone should have one, and none of my friends got off the dime. So, anyway, I don't mean to go so far afield on our topic.
No, that's great. But so you would have no interest in a time travel themed birthday party? Okay, great.
Nope.
Sam, if you could have a time machine, but you had to steal it, would you steal it?
Oh, sure. I would like, Tanya Harding kneecap somebody for a time machine. I wouldn't kill, but I would definitely,
definitely steal.
Maim.
Okay, cool.
Kick in the shin.
How about you, Dr. Jim?
I probably would, but I'd feel super guilty about it.
Okay. Even if you eventually returned it?
Yeah, because, I just would like, what if I get caught? Oh, wait, this is like Napoleon, so he's not going to do anything. I don't know. Yeah, probably.
Okay. How about you, Mary Jo? Would you steal it? No.
No, because when I'm in situations like that, I start laughing because I get so nervous. So people instantly peg me, and I wouldn't know how it was supposed to be operated.
Right.
So I get really hung up on that. So no, and I'm lazy.
But then theoretically, if you brought it to the person you stole it from right before they were about to use it, wouldn't they have two time machines then?
Oh. On many time travel
so
shows,
you're doing them a favor.
My head.
You're
my
taking
brain
an extra
just
one off your hands.
Yes, and I'll give you an extra one. Hey, you stole my. Wait a minute, I've got two.
Yeah, right.
Why
does my
your
time
TV
machine have
show.
mud all over it?
But you've got two. Yeah, it'll crack your brain open. That logic.
This is a question I've been wrestling with getting right on the podcast, and I don't think I've cracked it yet.
Okay.
So, Sam, would you wrestle a room full of medium-sized bears in order to travel in time?
Let me get this straight. You haven't gotten this question right before?
No.
Okay.
So here, my intent is to ask a
How was
question.
it ever wrong? This sounds perfect. How did you ever get this wrong?
I keep talking this on every podcast, so the people listening are like, "Oh, shut up about the bears,
the
Scrimshaw."
bears. Yeah.
But I initially asked it, these questions are all just designed to see, like, how into it are people?
Yeah.
So I asked somebody, like, would you wrestle a small bear to get to the thing you're obsessed with? And their immediate reaction was like, oh, that sounds fun. I'd like to wrestle a small bear. So I'm trying to get the size and the number of bears correct.
Okay.
So
So
get the spirit across.
a room about this size, let's just say.
Yeah.
Medium-sized bears being
Medium-sized
like
bears.
knee
Yeah.
or
So
waist.
still scary.
Still scary. Have they eaten recently?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would try to take a few down. I mean, if it means getting a time machine, sure, man. I would try. I think I would fail. 'Cause I haven't actually won a fight since I was in 5th grade. So.
The willingness is the important thing.
Then yes, I would.
How about you, Dr. Jim?
No, that's too much of a security system. That would be enough. It's too much effort.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Mary Jo?
Okay, first of all, I told you from the get-go, Joseph Scrimshaw, that I didn't know a thing about time travel. So I don't know why you keep asking these questions when you know that I'm not obsessed with time travel at all.
I know.
Okay, just.
But you're
like
super fun and charming.
But you're super abashed. I know. That was really cute.
Is this the person who threw herself a surprise party?
That was so cute. If they had eaten, as previously posited, and if I could declaw them and put mittens on them, yes, I would. I think that would be really fun.
Okay, when you ask me why I keep asking you these questions, it's because you tell me things like, if I could put mittens on the bears.
Which now
That's
is going to have
gold.
to be part of the question.
Yeah.
You walk into a room, it's full of mittened bears. All right.
I think you got that completely right. That
Absolutely.
question. You got the
Okay,
question
I nailed it?
right.
Okay,
You
good.
Nailed it.
Good. All right, just 2 how obsessed are you questions left, and then we'll move on. Would you wear underwear with the doctor from Doctor Who's face on them?
Sure. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, why not? If they're free. Free underwear for me. That's a positive boon right there, man. Yes.
All right. So not so much about time travel, but just your
Free
love of
underwear.
free underwear.
Yes.
Excellent. Dr. Jim, how about you?
Not Doctor Who, Commando Who.
So you'd get a tattoo?
Oh, Jim. Oh.
No, probably not.
No. Okay. Mary Jo, do you want to answer this question, or do you want to be relieved of?
Has George Clooney ever been a Doctor Who? Just for the
Not
sake
yet,
Okay, then,
but in the future. So only if George Clooney underwear.
Yeah.
All right.
And even that, I feel myself getting very embarrassed with that super hypothetical situation.
Okay, so you guys are all like you are knowledgeable, or in Mary Jo's case, very funny and charming and playing along well. It's fine that you're not fully obsessed, but you guys aren't super obsessed, which is totally fine. But this last question, I'm still going to ask it because it's tradition, but I think I know the answer. Okay. So start with you, Sam. If you couldn't think about time travel or watch a time travel show without you or someone you love first being punched in the crotch, would you still watch and think about time travel?
Okay, is this kind of like, I don't know if you ever read Chuck Klosterman's Fargo Rock City.
I have not.
At the end, he has like 50 albums that if you paid him a certain amount, he wouldn't listen to. The first one being Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Okay.
You'd have to pay him like $10 million to never listen to that album, get rid of all copies.
Yeah.
If it's in a taxi playing, he wouldn't jump out of the taxi if like Paradise City was playing. But in theory, he would leave his favorite album behind for an X amount.
Yeah. So it's like that, but with crotch punching.
Yes. I guess it depends on how much. Just once, every time I'm thinking about it, or
yeah, people barter with this question a lot. So,
yeah.
So for me, what I've settled on it's monthly. It's like a Netflix subscription.
Okay. So I'm being punched in the crotch by with bears with mittens.
Yes,
on.
exactly.
Okay, and
some more slapped.
I would still do it. I mean, once a month.
Yeah, once a month.
Yeah, because I mean, there are things like Time Zero. You know.
Yeah.
The Next Generation episodes where I'd be like, I can't not live with that episode.
Yeah,
Data's
so you
head's
need
in
that.
Mark Twain. You know, no, dude. I one punch a month. Sure, I'll take it.
Okay.
Why not?
How about you, Dr. Jim?
Wait, whose crotch is getting punched?
Not mine, Jim.
Yeah.
Not mine.
No.
Either you or someone you love. So you could take it yourself, or you could give it to someone you care about.
No, I wouldn't give it to someone I care about. Depends on who's doing the punching. Like if it's like a 2-year-old, yeah, then okay. You know, they give it this little like, Uncle Jim, a little smack. Then I could do it. Yeah.
Okay. So
but like Mike Tyson, no. I like my crotch.
Okay. So if you were punched lightly in the crotch, so if every month a 2-year-old came to your house.
Yes. Yeah.
Said, Uncle Jim punched
Right.
you in the crotch.
Which is
Jim,
pretty much
your
like my
2-year-old's
Netflix
here.
subscription.
Your 2-year-old's here to punch you in the crotch. Okay, I'll be
right down.
Yeah.
I gotta watch Time Tunnel. Yeah. How about you, Mary Jo? Do you understand the question?
No, I don't. No. So am I permitting myself to be punched in the crotch so I can think about time travel?
Yes.
No, I don't. I never thought about time travel before this podcast, so I don't think it's going to be an issue for me. But I
Okay.
appreciate the inquiry, Joseph.
Thank you
I
for
think
your
I'm good.
totally understandable answer. I ask everyone to make a noise to sum up their obsession. Sam, can you make a noise to sum up your obsession with time travel, such as it is? What? Was that a horn? Like a little
Yeah,
sad French horn?
Yeah, because I played French horn, and that's my go-to French horn sound. So when I'm asked to do a noise, that's the one that I
Excellent.
make. It doesn't show like that I'm unenthusiastic about time travel. It just
No, it's a part of the story of DJ Time Travel, right?
yes, the melancholy that is his life.
How about you, Dr. Jim? Nice scientific noise. And Mary Jo, do you want to make a noise to sum up your mild interest in time travel?
What?
A very sleepy what? Why? That's great. I've been rating people's obsession, so this will be really fun. It's out of 7. We'll say out of 7 TARDISes, because I like Doctor Who. 7 being the highest. Out of 7 TARDISes. Sam, I think you're around like 3.5 TARDISes, maybe 4, because you would go, Time Zero.
Yeah.
If Time Zero is worth a monthly crotch punch, I'm going to bump you up to 4 out of
Okay.
7 TARDISes.
I'll take 4.
So like you're into it, not super into it.
Yeah.
Dr. Jim, I feel like while you answered that you wouldn't do a lot of these sort of outlandish things that I asked about, it is clearly something that's been with you for a long time, something that affects you as a creative person and as a scientist. So I'm going to bump you a little higher to like 4.57 out of 7 TARDISes.
That sounds fair.
Does that sound fair?
4.57. There's a plus or minus 0.02 in there, but that's
like
about
that.
right.
That sounds
Yeah.
fair.
That sounds fair. That sounds acceptable.
His assessment. I love that.
In Mary Jo, I'm going to give you negative 27 out of 7 TARDISes.
Am I kicked off the podcast?
And you are not kicked off the podcast. And this
You have
is
to actually keep
great.
doing it over and over again.
Time travel.
My last question is, if you could travel back in time and say no to me asking you to do this, would you say no, or have you
No.
had a good time?
No, I have had a great time.
Oh,
I would
good.
definitely say yes.
Aw, that makes me very happy. So can you guys tell people where they can find you on social media? Sam, where can people find you?
Well, I'm obviously on Facebook. I'm at Droning on Wii on Twitter.
That's the noise you made.
That's yeah. I also have a podcast with Bill Steitler called Aging Poorly, which is at agingpoorly.com, where it's an anti-nostalgia podcast talking about the stuff that either held up or didn't hold up from our childhoods.
Cool.
So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing.
Cool. And Jim, where can people find you and anything you want to plug?
I'm very well hidden on social media.
Okay, so try to find him if you can.
Exactly, right. Yeah, right. At try to find me.
Okay, so yeah, obviously you want to keep that on lockdown. Anything you want to plug? Your book? Anything else coming up?
So, author of The Physics of Superheroes, and I have a book coming out next spring on the physics of everyday things.
Oh,
The
cool.
extraordinary science of an ordinary day. That will
that's
follow you as you get
awesome.
up. You drive to a doctor's checkup, you go to the airport, you go through TSA, you give a business presentation, you go to a hotel at the night, and every time you encounter some technology, I pop in and explain how it works.
That's really cool.
I am so geeking out over that.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for that.
This
Thank
is
you.
the most
Thank you.
obsessed you've been. At looking
No,
at
I love shit like that.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
That's good. Where can people find you?
Mary Jo Pehl, Pehl, at Facebook and on Twitter.
Okay, cool. Anything you got coming up you want to plug or?
No, I don't know, Joe. Do I? Nope, I'm good. Thanks.
All right. So we'll move on to our final questions that don't have anything to do with the main topic, but they can if you want. We'll start with you, Dr. Jim. What would you rather shoot out of your hands, bees or a Wi-Fi signal?
Wow. I think Wi-Fi would make me more popular.
It would probably be more useful than bees.
Yeah.
So you go with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
What's your when you think like maybe bees? Why? Why would you maybe want bees?
Well, it's a nice little defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless they're like really old and like cold and just like drooping down. And really ineffective. Stand back.
I would not want to shoot sad bees out of my hand either. So it's totally understandable. Mary Jo, if you could assign yourself like a really cool nickname.
Oh, wait, I get that question. I thought that was like for everyone.
No, that's just that was special for you.
That was just for you. That was special for you.
Yeah, great.
But you can answer the other questions if you'd like. If you could get a cool nickname and people actually called you this cool nickname, is there anything that you've wanted to be called?
Yes, I would like. I would like to be called the leggy Mary Jo Pehl. I've always loved that phrase, that terminology. The leggy Mary Jo Pehl. Thank you for asking, Joseph Scrimshaw.
You have legs. You are leggy. All right, Sam. If you could carve a word or phrase into the moon so everyone could see it, what word or phrase would you carve into the moon?
Chode. I think chode is a funny word. I think not a lot of people know what it means. And when you find out what it means, you're just like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's a nice, harmless, weird, girthy, strange. I changed my answer. I want girthy. But no. No, chode. Chode. I'll stick with chode.
You stick with chode? I like that. People look it up and they're like, oh, come on, moon.
Oh. Come on, that's gross. What?
Moon, what are
Ew.
you
Why is the
doing?
moon being so gross?
All right. The final question for everyone on the podcast, you guys will all answer the same question, is what is happiness? Let's start with you, Dr. Jim. What to you is happiness?
I would say it is fear, absence of anxiety.
Oh.
And I remember an amazing wave of happiness. We were going to a wedding, and various of my kids and family members, we all connected up at Midway. We were on the L going to where we needed to go, and the system had all worked, and they were all there, and everyone was fine. And I just was like overwhelmed with this one moment.
Yeah.
And so one of the things was like, everyone is okay right now, and I don't have to worry about anyone, at least for this moment.
Yeah.
Right. And then the train stopped for 20 minutes, and we were stuck between stations.
Back to life.
Exactly.
How about you, Mary Jo?
What a great moment. I think it's being in the moment and recognizing everything you have at that moment is
Yeah.
what you need.
Awesome.
And then just,
being present.
Being present for it.
Cool. Sam?
That I think happiness is being needed, and I don't mean like codependence, but I mean like people seeking you out and going, like you did for this podcast.
Yeah.
Hey Sam, I'm coming back in town. I'm doing Obsessed.
Yeah.
Come along and do it. I like that feeling of like you're not struggling to be noticed. You're not constantly putting stuff out there and trying to be like, but I've done this cool stuff and I should be part of this. And that's the typical kid getting picked like last for baseball or whatever, but just feeling like you're part of something. You're needed. You're a cog in the machine, but nothing heartless. Just a nice feeling of, oh, that's great. I feel a part of something.
Right. Yeah, I think that's awesome to be like, well, I have this machine, and the piece that's going to fit right here is Sam Landman.
This guy.
So get in my machine, Sam Landman.
Right, with your theoretical comedy somehow. Maybe you'll work, maybe you won't.
Well, those are all great answers. Thank you guys so much for doing this. That is our podcast.
Thanks, Joseph.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Joseph.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Obsessed. Joseph Scrimshaw and his guest shared some stories with the rest. Rate 5 stars if you're impressed.
DJ Time Travel. DJ Time Travel. He travels through time. He solves mysteries with rock and roll. DJ Time Travel.